Hey guys, what's going on? Hope everybody's doing good out there today, and welcome back to another edition of Mental Mondays. It is rapidly becoming getting a pretty loyal base going here with the Mental Mondays. Got a lot of people that are really enjoying what we're doing here, and even though the views aren't as good as on a regular topic, it seems like they're getting a little bit better every week. It seems like, and getting a lot of comments on the aspect of the mental part of fishing, different mental parts, aspects of life. So I'm pretty excited about moving forward with it, and we got an unlimited supply of topics. And today what I want to talk about is I'm going to talk about the responsibility that comes with winning an argument. And again, like everything else that I do, guys, on the Mental Mondays, you can apply this to your fishing and life in general too, because that's the one thing that fishing has taught me. I mean, fishing has taught me not only a lot about fish, but taught me a lot about life in general, because so many of the lessons that you learn go both ways. And that's true for today's topic and everything. So anyway, there's a lot of arguing going on these days. I've never seen our country so divided along different, political lines, just ways of thinking, cultural differences. It's probably since the Civil War. So, that's in our face all the time as far as people arguing with each other. And the thing about arguments on this is and I'll start off right off the bat saying this, when you win an argument with somebody, and there's no doubt that you win an argument with somebody, say there's no doubt you've won an argument with somebody, you basically sort of destroyed the reality that they live by, the reality that they've set for themselves, their worldview to some extent, if you win an argument on a topic. And this topic can be anything. It can be politics, it can be religion, it can be, just world events, it could be, your relationship with your spouse, it could be talking about braid to fluorocarbon on fishing knots, it could be talking about live scope, it could just be whatever. But anytime that you win an argument, to some extent, you've destroyed that person's reality. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with winning an argument. You've got to be kind. Even if you do win it, if you do win an argument, you got to realize that that's a very painful thing for the other person that has lost that argument. So the first thing you have to remember is you've got to be extremely kind if that happens, and not that you're trying to win an argument for the sake of making another person feel bad. But what happens a lot in society today is that people, when they take a position on something, and again, this can be anything, religion, politics, just your point of view on life, it could be the food you eat, it could be your fishing techniques, whatever. It's like when you have a strong opinion on that, you have to sort of ask yourself what that opinion is backed up by. Now, if the basis of your opinion that you have on a topic, if you're getting all of your factual information like from one source or just a very small window of sources, you cut yourself off to all the other points of view that are out there. Say for example, somebody has a heart condition, and you go to 98 doctors and they tell you, you've got you've got a heart problem here, we've got to operate, or you're probably not going to make it. And then you go to 2 doctors that tell you that, no, you're fine, you're going to be fine, no big deal, you don't need anything. Sure, you want to listen to, and you want to hear what those 2 doctors tell you, but you're basically denying the reality of the situation if you don't listen to the other 98. And this happens a lot in everything that we have. It's like when people get a real focused, centered point of view on whatever aspect of life, fishing, whatever, if you have that point of view, you have to ask yourself, okay, is my opinion and my viewpoint on this belief that I have, is it backed up by rational, factual information, or is it backed up by me wanting to believe this? Is my emotion overriding my intellect? I think that's something that every single person has to ask. I'll give you guys a good example. Let's look back, a couple thousand years ago, when everybody took it as fact that the world was flat, that the earth was flat. And if you just went in a straight line far enough, you'd fall off into an abyss. People thought this for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe thousands, I don't know. So anyway, when some scientists started coming out with the fact, they said, hey guys, the world is not flat, it's round. They were met with a tremendous opposition, to the point of where some of them were murdered. They were for their outlandish view that the world is round. How dare can you go against the accepted status quo? So that's one extreme to it, but that still holds true today. It's like those same people, when they finally realize that the argument of the world being flat was incorrect, and the scientists that were saying the world was round was correct. That's a very painful thing to accept when you base your entire worldview, your point of view, your reality around one thought. When you lose that and you tear that down, that's scary, that's painful to people. And that's why people don't like to do it. That's why a lot of people, regardless of the topic we're talking about, I can talk about pork frogs here. Here's an example. I can talk about pork frogs versus plastic and be the same thing. When you get your heels dug into one point of view and bury your head in the sand, a lot of people do that, and they don't want to hear anything besides what they want to hear. And this is something that it's been going on forever, and I don't really understand this, because it's like I've never seen a situation where the truth, once the truth was uncovered and exposed, was a bad thing. I mean, like I said, if people live in some type of a denial of reality, that's a facade, to live in. So, one of the things I would suggest out there, like I said, you can apply this to your fishing or whatever. Try to gather as much information as you can from a wide variety of sources. Be open-minded to that. And what you do is after you've assimilated information from a tremendous wide sources, then the thing that you can do is you can look for the common threads, the common viewpoints that a lot of people shared on that. And most of the time, that is usually what's true with that. I mean, most of the time it is. And we'll go over, let's talk about a fishing situation. Let's talk about braided fluorocarbon, for example. Everybody knows that I am against braided fluorocarbon on spinning rods. I lay out my criteria why I don't like it. For the fact that I don't like having 2 weak links. I don't like the fact that braid is more visible to the fish. I know that braided fluorocarbon will not get you more bites. There's a lot of different things where somebody else will come back to me and they'll say, well, I like braided fluorocarbon because you don't have to change line as much. You don't have the stretch in it. You don't have the line twist. So you have arguments on both sides. And ultimately what you have to do is you have to decide, from your own point of view, which is the reality that you fall into. Again, this can be politics. It can be religion. It can be cooking. It could be how you and your wife get along. It could be, your health situation. Every single aspect of life has that in there. So the point of the video, what I want to talk about today, guys, is that everybody's going to have disagreements and they're going to have arguments. Some people are simply not as open-minded as other people. And a lot of times those people that don't tend to be as open-minded as other people, they get very defensive and they get locked into their positions. They get locked into their beliefs and their point of view. And when you have a disagreement and when you have an argument with somebody, and you prove your point, that's a very painful thing for the other person, because I've been in arguments and I've seen arguments a lot of different phases, and I see a lot of people, they'll say, well, we just have to agree to disagree. And that's basically what you're saying when you say something like that, is like, my brain's fried. I don't want to have to think about this anymore. I don't want to have to examine, my point of view. I just want to exit this conversation because the conversation is getting too painful. So, it's part of the human experience out there. I think this has been going on forever. I think that arguments and disagreements, have been going on since we were living in caves, and they'll probably continue to do so. But I think that we can avoid a lot of that is if you do get in an argument, and you win that argument, you can't gloat. You got to be kind with it. You got to handle it very respectfully and with integrity, because it is a painful thing for the other person. And a lot of times, the other person may be in denial of reality to such an extent that they will never admit that they've lost an argument. They'll just exit the conversation without that, and then that opens up a whole nother deal that makes it's very difficult to communicate. So anyway, guys, just a few thoughts about that out there. It's sort of a topic that applies to fishing in all aspects of life. It just goes back to we just got to be kind to each other. I mean, if everybody just lives by the golden rule and is kind to the other person and has some empathy, which it's tough to do. I mean, I struggle with it myself all the time. I mean, nobody's perfect out there. You got to give yourself a break, but at least maybe be aware of that. So anyway, that's another installment of Middle Monday. Shoot your comments this way. Much appreciated you guys watching, and we'll be back later. See you.